Have you ever wondered why some women, without uttering a single word, can capture a man's full attention? It isn't their looks, nor the words they speak, and it's never something they force. It is something far more subtle, an invisible presence, a vibration that lingers in the air and is felt before it is understood. From Carl Jung's depth psychology, we know that what remains unconscious within us inevitably appears in our relationships. Love is not logical. It cannot be controlled or strategized. It is shaped by the unseen forces of our inner world, by psychic energies that speak louder than reason. Often, it is the quietest gestures, the ones we do not calculate, that leave the deepest mark. True attraction doesn't come from polished phrases or dramatic displays. It arises from an energy we radiate unconsciously. Tiny movements, a posture, a moment of silence, these can reach into another's unconscious more powerfully than words. What truly binds us to someone is rarely what we consciously show, but what our deeper self emanates without effort. That is why there are moments when we find ourselves drawn to someone without knowing why, an inexplicable pull, silent yet undeniable. Today, we will explore exactly that. 8 silent attitudes that rarely draw attention, yet hold an extraordinary power of attraction. Attitudes that cannot be learned through techniques, but only rediscovered by reconnecting with your authentic essence. So, take a deep breath. From this moment, begin to see that real magnetism is not noisy. It doesn't need to announce itself. It is felt, lived, and radiated from the depths of the unconscious. In Jungian psychology, much of what we project onto others comes not from the surface of the mind, but from unconscious patterns, energies sensed beyond what is visible. One of the most powerful among them is the silent presence. A woman who simply is without effort, without restlessness, without craving to be noticed, emits a vibration that moves others. She does not need to fill the silence with words or decorate it with forced gestures. Her quiet being alone communicates, "I am here. I am enough." As Jung observed, the unconscious of others perceives not only what it desires, but also what it fears. And it is often in silence, in presence without words, that the deepest truths are revealed. Silent presence awakens deep inner memories, archetypal images of stability, safety, and trust. When someone is truly present, there is no need to announce their existence. Their inner state alone reshapes the atmosphere. The collective unconscious senses it. Even if the conscious mind cannot name it, such presence does not arise from control, but from inner reconciliation, from inhabiting oneself fully, with acceptance of both light and shadow. In a world saturated with noise and constant stimulation, silent presence becomes a rare oasis, an invitation for weary souls to rest. A reflection for you. Do you allow yourself to simply inhabit the moment in stillness? Or do you feel compelled to act, to prove, to earn the right to be seen? And though authentic presence already transforms the environment quietly, there are also small, nearly invisible gestures that deepen connection without a single word. In the unseen realm of human relationships, such gestures form a language the conscious mind struggles to translate. As Jung observed, much of our communication occurs through symbols, images, subtle actions, fleeting microexpressions, signals that stir emotional responses long before reason has time to intervene. A genuine smile is one of those symbols. Not staged, not performed to please, but natural, arising from within. A smile that conceals as much as it reveals, suggesting a rich inner world that cannot be fully known at once. When a woman smiles in this way, not to seduce, not to draw attention, but as a true expression of her own essence, her presence becomes irresistibly magnetic. This is not about playing with another's perception. It is about allowing quiet joy to surface without explanation, as a sign of connection to one's own being. From a Jungian perspective, the unconscious is always drawn to what promises expansion. A mysterious smile becomes a living symbol, a doorway into the unknown, into something greater than oneself. The conscious mind searches for answers. The unconscious longs for open spaces where curiosity and discovery may flourish. And so, in that smile, one that reveals little but hints at infinite inner landscapes, one of the most powerful and silent magnets of the human soul is born. Ask yourself, does your smile rise from inner fullness? Or does it sometimes appear as an automatic mask, offered to secure approval? If a smile can already awaken the soul of another, imagine the silent force of a gaze that holds nothing back. Look away or hold a gaze. A true gaze carries a weight that words can never reach. Some glances barely skim the surface, while others cut through masks and awaken what lies hidden, stirring something rarely touched. From Jung's perspective, the unconscious is always at play, endlessly projecting fragments of itself onto others. We do not see people as they are, we see them as our psyche activates them within us. And the gaze is one of the most direct channels for this mysterious process. A calm, sincere, unhurried gaze is more than simple eye contact. It is a doorway, a silent invitation. I am here. I see you. Do you dare to see yourself too? When a woman holds her gaze without fear, without demand, she radiates something beyond logic. She emanates presence, openness, and quiet courage. Jung taught that the unconscious perceives not only what it longs for, but also what it resists and fears. That is why a genuine gaze, free from masks and defenses, can become a revolutionary act, capable of stirring desire, discomfort, or a deep longing for connection. Such a gaze whispers, I can remain with myself, even in vulnerability. I do not need to flee the truth of this moment. And this silent courage reaches further than words ever could. A question for you. Do you allow yourself to truly see and be seen? Or do you find yourself looking away, protecting what feels too exposed? For while authentic gaze can ignite instant connection, there exists something even more delicate, even more profound, the way we show our vulnerability without turning it into a silent plea for rescue. Vulnerability is not weakness. It is one of the deepest expressions of inner strength. Jungian psychology reminds us that what we repress in the unconscious never disappears. It reemerges in relationships, in attachments, in patterns that repeat themselves. A woman who allows her vulnerability to be seen not as drama, not as demand, not as a cry for help, sends a quiet yet powerful signal to the unconscious of the other. I can hold my own humanity. True vulnerability does not spring from desperation. It arises from the courage to be witnessed exactly as you are without disguise, without justification, without strategy. When you reveal your emotions without exaggerating and without suppressing, you offer the other a mirror, a living reflection of what it means to dwell deeply within oneself. Jung observed that what we do not accept in ourselves seeks healing through others. Yet, when vulnerability is rooted in self-acceptance, the connection it awakens is no longer a wound seeking repair, it is a meeting of truth, and therefore profoundly real. You do not need to beg for love. You do not need to dramatize your wounds. What you need is to allow yourself to be whole, even in imperfection. Pause for a moment and ask yourself, do you let yourself be seen in your real humanity? Or does your vulnerability sometimes turn into a silent request for recognition? When vulnerability is offered as a gift rather than a demand, it opens a sacred space, a space where mystery can breathe and connection can remain alive. In a world saturated with constant self-promotion, mystery has become a rare and magnetic force. From Jung's perspective, it is the symbols that are never fully explained, the ones left partly hidden that most deeply stir the imagination and the unconscious. The human spirit does not only hunger for what it understands, it longs for what it senses, for what whispers of hidden meaning, for what hints without unveiling everything. A woman who does not immediately reveal every corner of her inner world, who opens only to those who prove worthy embodies an attraction that cannot be staged or imitated. Mystery is not a tactic, nor a strategy. It is a natural expression of a soul that knows its own worth. that understands her inner universe is not for everyone. In Jungian psychology, mystery functions as an archetypal symbol, a guarded threshold that does not reject but invites exploration. It awakens in others the impulse to discover, not just a person, but an entire inner landscape. Those who do not reveal everything at once allow connection to unfold layer by layer, growing in depth and meaning. Presence that holds something back keeps the flame of curiosity alive. So ask yourself, do you preserve spaces of mystery within yourself? Or do you sometimes feel the urge to expose everything too quickly, simply to be understood? And yet, beyond the magnetism of mystery lies an even more powerful energy, the silent stability that comes from within. There is an invisible strength in those who have learned to inhabit their own worth. It does not shout, it does not impose, it does not seek validation, it simply exists. According to Jung's depth psychology, this inner stability is the fruit of individuation. It is not the conscious effort to prove value, but the natural outcome of deep reconciliation with oneself. A woman who walks, speaks, and breathes from this silent confidence needs no justification for her existence. She does not need to explain or defend her worth. Her very presence establishes boundaries, commands respect, and quietly generates attraction. A coherent energy does not waver with external validation. True security is never declared with words. It reveals itself in the way you enter a room, in the calm with which you say no, in the steadiness you embody, even when the world around you pressures you to bend. When you are anchored in your own source of worth, there is no need to chase, to demand, or to over-explain. You simply are. And this quiet authenticity becomes a subtle beacon for those who are ready to recognize it. Pause and reflect. Does your sense of security arise from the hunger to be acknowledged, or from a genuine connection with yourself? When security is inhabited naturally, it radiates an even brighter light authenticity that does not need to be proclaimed in order to be felt. In a society obsessed with appearances, to live authentically has become a quiet act of resistance. From Carl Jung's perspective, we exist in constant tension between the self, our true inner being, and the persona, the mask we wear in order to belong. A woman who lives from herself radiates a genuineness that needs no announcement. She does not parade her independence, does not display her strength, does not dramatize her emotions. She simply inhabits her truth. Jung reminded us that individuation is not about rejecting the persona, but about refusing to confuse it with our true identity. To live authentically is to recognize when we are acting from adaptation and to consciously return to our inner center. When a woman allows herself to be exactly as she is, imperfect, evolving, deep without apology, without justification, without strategy, she emits an energy that touches the unconscious directly, the vibration of someone who has ceased to fight herself. This serenity, this natural coherence, creates a magnetism that cannot be imitated or forced. Ask yourself, do you live from your true essence? Or do you sometimes lose yourself in the role you believe you must play? When authenticity becomes second nature, another silent posture arises, one that not only attracts, but also protects. The ability to withdraw quietly when the moment calls for it. Not all value lies in staying. Sometimes the most sacred act is knowing when it is time to go. From a Jungian perspective, individuation is a lifelong practice of discernment, knowing when to remain and when to release. A woman who steps away silently from a space that no longer nourishes her essence is not fleeing. She's not punishing. She's choosing herself. Silent retreat is not coldness. It is the highest form of self-love. It is the recognition that your greatest loyalty must be to your own unfolding, not to a connection that confines you. Jung said, "What we do not make conscious controls our lives, and we call it fate." To remain in relationships that no longer resonate with your true self is to surrender the wheel to the shadow. Withdrawal, on the other hand, is a conscious act and honoring of life's cycles, a declaration of trust that leaving behind what has expired will open new doors, doors that align with who you are becoming. When the woman walks away without drama, without bitterness, her energy expands. Paradoxically, she becomes even more unforgettable. So ask yourself, do you know how to walk away in peace when something no longer honors your essence? Or do you cling, hoping the other will validate your worth? For within all these silent gestures, smiling, gazing, inhabiting your truth, staying, or leaving their pulses, one deeper truth, the soul's quiet insistence on being whole. Jung emphasized that such integrated energy is always perceived, if not consciously, then in the depths of the unconscious. The unconscious is the force that weaves together the connections that truly matter. And perhaps, after this journey, you recognize something that was always there, quiet, constant, waiting in silence. True attraction does not come from effort. It is not staged, not performed. It flows from the depths of connection you hold with yourself, from the quiet respect you give your own energy, from the serenity of living your truth even when no one is watching. As Carl Jung reminded us, what we do not make conscious returns in our lives as fate, and it is our quietest postures, the ones we rarely notice, that most deeply touch the unconscious of another. The lingering gaze, the smile that keeps its secrets, the vulnerability that does not plead, the mystery that does not explain itself, the security that does not seek validation, the authenticity that does not perform, the retreat that does not dramatize. Each gesture, each vibration, each silence is an expression of your unconscious energy in motion. And such energy cannot be imitated or copied. It cannot be learned from a manual. It grows only through the inner decision to stop chasing love and to embody it first within yourself. This is how a connection is born that is not superficial, not transactional, not fleeting, but one that resonates on invisible levels and precisely for that reason leaves an unforgettable mark. So I invite you to reflect. Which of these silent attitudes already live within you, and which inspire you to expand your quiet energy even further? Share your reflections in the comments, because perhaps the first true act of connection is not about attracting another, but about remembering yourself and letting your essence speak, even when you say nothing. If this journey has touched you, subscribe to the channel and continue exploring with me the vast ocean of the unconscious.